This landed at a ranch at Corona, New Mexico. The rancher turned it over to the Air Force. Rancher W.W. Brazil was the man who discovered the saucer.
What I thought was a star began coming in my direction at a very rapid rate of speed.
The unidentified object, which some sources thought might be a blimp, moved slowly down the Pacific coast from Santa Monica and disappeared south of Long Beach.
I saw a UFO, and it went down the river, turned right at the United Nations, turned left, and then down the river.
UFO Classified. UFO Classified. No more plausible deniability. Fact, fiction, or the truth. You decide. And now, the new voice of the high desert, the hostess of UFO Classified, Erica Lukes.
Oh, happy Friday, my friends. I hope you are staying warm because I know it is really, really cold here. It's so bitter, and we've been having kind of record-breaking snowfall around here, so it is just a winter wonderland, and I'm glad I'm inside in my flannel pajamas and can hang out with all of you tonight. I want to just take a moment and give my heartfelt condolences and the prayers for the people who lost loved ones today in Florida. This is so beyond tragic. It's just at some point in time, I hope that this comes to an end, but I know that all of you feel the same way. We're all thinking of families there and the people that witnessed this terrible event, and our prayers and love are with all of you tonight. I had an exciting week as always, because it's never a dull moment in my world. And I actually did the Paracast yesterday with Gene Steinberg and my guest from last week, Christopher O'Brien. And that was a fun time. Of course, it's always, we've just got a lot going on in the Paracast. I think Gene is awesome. I freaking love him. And, of course, like in Gene's style, he asked some questions about being a woman in ufology and MUFON and some of these current time events in my world and in in the world of ufology. And it was interesting, but I really enjoy doing that show, and I appreciate their professionalism and candor and really calling people on the carpet about things. That's very cool. And I think that, I know that my guest tonight, Jeff Ritzman, is going to be very eye-opening for some of you who don't know him. He's had a lot of experiences in his life, and I first found him when I was going through Facebook and looking at some responses on different people's pages and posts, and his comments were so brilliant. They made me think, and I reached out to him and we connected. I've spent a couple hours on the phone with him. Just, oh my gosh, this is mind blowing. Well, actually more than that. He's also a musician, and he has been actively involved in UFO research for 30 years. He refers to his involvement as a very personal one and has had several interesting events, which we will touch on just briefly tonight. They started at the age of 5 and prompted him to delve further, like most of us do in this world, in effort to understand what was going on in his life. He's applied his work as a digital imaging professional to the ever-growing pile of UFO photos and videos, and he is quite the expert with detecting hoaxes, and he's a fantastic image analyst in the UFO field working on visual data. He was the primary image analyst in the O'Hare UFO case, and this was with NARCAP, and he was cited in the NARCAP report of the event of his work. He's also worked on landing trace cases and experiencer support investigations. He was the official chat host on AOL for sightings in his early days of the internet, and he founded and facilitated the first experiencer support group, AES, on the internet through AOL's Periscope. seeing connective events and hallmarks in paranormal events, including UFO phenomena. Jeff's scope of research has broadened, and he now really delves into anomalies encountered across different times and cultures. His main focus of research at present day is direct interaction with the phenomena by engaging liminal and anti-structural aspects of action. So he is very profound. And as some of you know, I think all of us who get into researching this subject have had either UFO experiences or paranormal experiences or both. And oftentimes they both come together. And so we struggle to come to terms with some of these frightening things that we encounter in our homes, things that happen to loved ones, our children. We don't know what it is. I know for me personally, I had a series of paranormal events. I've had them through my life. And so the paranormal aspect to all of this has intrigued me greatly. And we are going to talk about that tonight. And also Jeff's groundbreaking Project Core, which was a massive online survey that asked questions and gathered data of people reporting paranormal experiences. So we're going to talk about that. And Jeff, I'm so stoked that you are on the line.
So am I, finally.
Oh, my Lord. I'm telling you, maybe there was something paranormal going on there.
I think the only thing paranormal is how old my Macintosh is. That's about it. So,
come on. You're supposed to build the suspense there. Dang it.
So I'm sorry I probably don't sound as good as I usually do with my normal mic, but this is my son's machine, which is a Tiger. But it's a headset mic, so it should sound okay, but I don't know how great it's going to sound over the air. But we're here. That's all that matters, right?
Yeah, yes, and this is exciting. And I have to say that when I kind of first started in this, I think everybody kind of gloms onto the people that are popular and looks at their work. And the more I've learned, the more I realize that's not going to happen anymore. There are people like yourself that have a lot more to offer, all of this. And I'm really grateful that you've come into my life and you have so many interesting things to say and really, I think, important ideas with regard to research.
I really appreciate that.
Yeah, no, it's true.
Yeah. It's very nice to hear.
No, it's true. And I think that people, and you have a lot of, you're very direct, and I appreciate that with the things that you say, and you don't take a lot of nonsense, which, that's good. That's really good.
There's no time for that anymore.
No, I know. And you're a musician.
Sort of, kind of, maybe, yeah.
Oh, come on now. What's your favorite band?
Iron Maiden.
Oh, Lordy, baby Joseph. Well, we might have a little different musical taste. That's all I'm going to say about that one.
I can go every musical genre pretty much except for rap. So,
really?
Yeah.
See, bluegrass. Just forget about it. Bluegrass is not my gig. But
no. And those guys can stretch out. They're awesome musicians in that though. But I was just on the Sirius XM channel volume before I came on the air here, talking with Mark Goodman and Alan Lightman, and I was talking about how there is literally no new music for people in my age group anymore. I'm going to be 50 this year, and there's just so few, musical acts out there that I guess my generation is steeped in classic rock, and that's kind of where we stay. So,
I do love the classic rock, I have to say.
Yeah.
And I've been listening to Rush lately, which is really weird. This is why I think I'm kind of turning into a man. I don't know. Between that and going out, waxing my car and polishing the chrome, it's like, oh my Lord, and getting my power tools out. It's like, what's happening to me?
Get that restrictor plate off the Trans Am. It's time to rock and roll. So there you are.
Oh my Lord. But oh my gosh. So we have a lot of people in chat room tonight, and I know we're going to have some really good questions for you. But give us a little background on your experiences, and we're just going to quickly touch on this so
Ooh.
people know where you're coming from.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, that is the kind of the main thing that people, I guess, and back in the day, this is where I used to get in a lot of trouble because, my predominant, I guess, contribution to this field of ufology, if you can call it a field, um, was photo analysis and examination of photographic evidence and video evidence, anything visual, because that's been my profession for the past 30 plus years, and so more often than not, when you would get brought onto any given case that would pop up through whether it be abovetopsecret.com or any of the other myriad of outlets that would contact you to do something or look at something, 9 times out of 10, it was a hoax or it was a mis-ID or something like that. And, inevitably people were saying, well, you're really rough on hoaxers and you're really, and I was horrible to these people. I mean, just brutal. And people would say, okay, so what is your deal? Why are you so vicious about this? And so, the thing is, I had never been quiet about it. I had never not wanted to discuss my own experiences. It's just people have to realize that I look at everything with great suspicion, um, including my own experiences. So I'm not quite sure um, how you would classify. I mean, there's been the typical quote unquote, alien experiences, I guess you could call them. And I guess that's been the predominant thing, really. But I've had all manner of weird experiences, from the UFO thing to ghost phenomena to really indescript, weird stuff, inside and outside of domiciles and cars, and so it's pretty much run this weird gamut of a lot of different things, but predominantly the UFO thing, and which started for me like at 5 years old, and maybe before. I honestly don't remember, but that started. I guess, I mean, it's not that untypical from what you hear a lot of people say, that when my mom and dad would put me to bed, 9 o'clock when you're a little kid, that young, 8:30, 9 o'clock, they would put me to bed, and of course, the last thing any kid wants to do is go to sleep. And so, I would sit up and try to play with toys or try to read something or try to listen to hear what mom and dad were talking about in the living room. And I always had a night light on outside my door that was illuminated from the bathroom that was just adjacent to my room. And I don't have a specific point when this started. I guess I have like a starting point where I think I must have become aware of it, if that makes any sense. And that was kind of playing and being awake and being cognizant of what was going on, no different than any other time, and seeing a small white dot appear in the center of my vision, and it appeared to be pulsating or vibrating, slightly blurred, and it grew in size. And the weird thing is that no matter where I looked in the room, no matter if my eyes were open or closed, I still saw it. This was like an overlay on top of normal vision, which didn't particularly horrify me at first until it began to get larger and larger and larger, and I realized that it's a perfect square. It's rotating as if it's on a pinwheel, not in a three-dimensional sense, but in a flat vector sense. And it grew to be so large that I guess the only way to describe it is kind of a whiteout type of thing, which sent me into an absolute panic, right? And as it would anybody. but then I seem to lose. I lose that. I don't know where that stops and where the next bit starts, but it is definitely the same night. I know that I would wake up sometime later. Obviously, mom and dad were in bed because I would often hear dad snoring, but there were times where I didn't hear him snoring. There were times where I would wake up and see the bathroom light on, and times where I would wake up and there would be no doors or windows. So there were these variant properties to these experiences of then waking up, having a blue light, a very intense blue light shone down on me and the bed down to my feet at least. And it seemed to cancel out other outside things. Like I said, sometimes you could make out the bathroom or the doorway, and sometimes you couldn't. Sometimes you could make out the window, and sometimes you couldn't. But I remember this blue light was just so not necessarily. I don't. I mean, brightness is one thing, but intensity is another. It was like you could see particles of dust floating in the air. I mean, that's how. I don't know, just kind of beaming that this thing was. And I would hear whispering. I would hear like a nondescript verbal cadence to this thing that didn't. It's not. I've had the heartbeat suggested thing, like, well, you're hearing the blood rush in your ears. You're probably asleep. This was definitely not that, because I have had that. This was definitely syllables and a vocal that seemed to be both at the head of my bed and at the foot of my bed. And occasionally I would see short-ish, I guess 4.5, 5 foot tall heads outside of this light. I mean, just barely on the edge, just barely catching any reflected light that may be coming off this beam, quote unquote beam. And just abject terror, not being able to scream, not being able to move anything but the head and shoulders, my toes, my feet occasionally. And when I could look down the body, when I could look down the foot of the bed, I would notice that no matter what color sheets were on my bed going to sleep, when I woke up in this scenario, all the sheets were absolutely black. The undersheet, the sheet, whatever blanket was on top, and all pulled literally like hospital tight. Like, it was literally like you're strapped in to this black sheet.
Oh.
And so, at that point, the heart does race and you panic and you're like, where am I? What is going on? And so it seems impossible to me to think about that kind of scenario rationally, and then somebody to say, well, what happened then? And me to say, well, I don't know, because I just wake up the next morning. I never remember that scenario ending. But what I can say for certain is that scenario happened, if not every night, then really close to every single night until my 9th birthday.
Oh my God! Did you tell your parents?
Oh yeah, yeah. I told mom after about a week. She said, "It's nightmares. You're having dreams." I talked to school guidance counselors. I mean, I was,
Oh my Lord.
One of my elementary school guidance counselors was absolutely fascinated, and and genuinely talked to me about nightmares and dreams, and I said, you don't understand. This is not what this is. I mean, I'm very cognizant of when I'm dreaming, because I did have a lot of dreams as a kid, as we all do, I'm sure. This was clearly not that, to the point of, dreams to me have never been tactile. I've never been able to pick up and feel a rose petal in a dream and have it feel like a rose petal, or touch somebody and feel like I'm touching a living person. That never, like, everything is very visual to me. And this scenario being every night, there were variables in that. In other words, it was the same progression as I just described every night, but there would be variants such as hands coming into the light, very long fingers, very spindly, black fingernails, rather long black fingernails, and coming towards my leg and me not being able to do anything about it. Another time kind of waking up and seeing the bed behind me illuminated in blue and the black sheets on the bed, but I'm not in the bed. I'm sitting on the floor in front of the door playing with somebody else. And they're short. I mean, they're really short. And, I'm nonplussed about this. Like, I don't know who they are, but I won't look at them. But we're playing with something really fascinating on the floor. And then it says something to me along the lines of, you want to go on a piggyback ride? And I said, sure. And it put me on its shoulders, and we began to go down the hallway. And there were no we were halfway down the hallway when I looked up in the big glass mirror that stands at the end of the dining room. And I realized I couldn't see, below my neck, of course, because I was short and he was short, or he or she, or whatever it was short. So I'm only seeing about my head. And there's no footsteps. It's like you're gliding.
Oh, my Lord. Of course, we've got to take a break. I know. Every time, without fail. It's right when this gets good. But I am so excited to have you here tonight, because we're going to talk a little bit more about your experiences, and then talk about your feelings about this field, about your work with you've done some impressive work. So, and you can find that on UFO Classified. I have links. I'm Erica Lukes. We are going to take a break, and I want to make sure to thank all of my friends in chat. We've got some questions there that I can see for Jeff, and specifically about the O'Hare airport case, which we will ask. But we will be back right after this break.
Stand by. This is UFO Classified with Erica Lukes. The phone lines are open now at 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230. Worldwide callers use Skype name KCOR Radio. More UFO Classified with Erica Lukes on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. After this.
Monday nights are about to become hauntingly good, as Reverend Sean Whittington possesses the airwaves with Vegas Supernatural. Tune in every Monday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern for Vegas Supernatural, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. There's a war raging between good and evil. The question is, which side are you fighting on? Tune in Monday nights as Reverend Sean Whittington sets the new standard for paranormal radio with some of the most influential personalities in the world today. Vegas Supernatural, hosted by Reverend Sean Whittington, every Monday night at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. The one show even the devil doesn't want you to hear.
Broadcasting in digital HD radio.
What if maintaining a healthy weight was as simple as drinking a cup of coffee? With Valentis Coffee, it's that easy. Harvested from the world's most pristine coffee farms and packed with the purest ingredients on earth, Valentis takes losing weight to a completely new level. At Valentis, we believe everyone deserves a chance to be healthy and fit. It's pure, natural, healthy, and delicious. Click the Valentis Healthiest Coffee banner on the KCOR Digital Radio Network website and take the Weight Loss Guarantee Challenge. Valentis Coffee, simply the world's healthiest coffee.
Each week
week, join Patrick Phillips as he takes you inside Hollywood. In-depth celebrity interviews, the very latest entertainment news, and more. Patrick Phillips hosts Pop Culture Tonight.
Join me Thursdays at 1 p.m. right here on the KCOR Digital Radio Network.
When danger is imminent, will you be prepared? Now many mobile devices can bring you critical information from local sources you trust. With the unique sound and vibration, wireless emergency alerts keep you in the know wherever you are. Learn more at ready.gov/alerts. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
America's favorite
radio station
just keeps getting better.
Hello, people. Aaron Hunter here, host of the show Real Paranormal Activity, where we tell the true stories of the paranormal from people like you. We also interview authors, mediums, psychics, and investigators as we dive headfirst into the murky waters of the paranormal. We discuss subject matters such as orbs, shadow people, paganism, the occult, and the demonic. Join me on Mondays at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern, here at KCOR Digital Radio Network.
If ever a breed was affectionate to a fault, it's the Golden Retriever. They're people dogs, pure and simple. And the Golden Retriever Rescue of Southern Nevada needs your help. If you would like to volunteer, foster, adopt, or donate, go to the Golden Retriever Rescue of Southern Nevada's website at grrsn.org. That's grrsn.org. Or call 598-GOLD. That's 598-GOLD.
You're listening to UFO Classified with Erica Lukes, where the truth isn't hidden beneath the black lines of a Sharpie.
That's the craziest thing I've ever heard.
To be on with Erica, call 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230. Worldwide callers use Skype name KCOR Radio.
Radio contact.
Share your thoughts on the show on Twitter by using hashtag KCOR. Or head over to the live chats at KCORradio.com.
The audience goes nuts.
And now, your host of UFO Classified.
Are you ready?
Erica Lukes.
Erica Lukes.
Happy Fantopia Friday, my friends. You're listening to KCOR, Digital Broadcasting Network. I've got to just say thank you to my wonderful producer, Tina Marie, who goes above and beyond for me and for the station, and I really am right at home here, and I love it. So thank you, Tina. You rock. My guest tonight is someone who is incredibly brilliant and has done a lot of work, and we probably don't know much about, especially in the field of, well, I mean, I can't even say ufology because that makes me kind of want to hurl, basically. But he's, did I say that out loud? But, you know, I mean, in the paranormal, in researching all of this stuff, you've done some, Jeff Ritzman has done some amazing things, and I want you to learn more about him. I've got links on my Facebook page, but he is a brilliant photo analyst.
I am not going to be able to live up to this. You have got to stop.
I know. Oh, God. Well, I can't help myself, though. It's true. I mean, seriously, and you're pretty hardcore about it, from what you said, you know?
Well, yeah, as much as one can be, anyway. Yeah. So anyway, where was I? I don't want to disrupt the flow.
Yeah, no, you were talking about the mirror, the big glass mirror.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at any rate, going down the hallway, I noticed there were no footsteps. It was more of a float. And so, you know, it's at this moments that you remember that you say to yourself, you know, well, I mean, and I don't care what anybody says in this. There are people who think about this stuff as critically as one can about their own experiences, and they do say things like, "Okay, am I dreaming? Is this some kind of like? Did I have a reaction to some food, or like what possibly could have caused this?"
Right.
And so you start questioning your own mind. And one of the things that has come up for me is things that a 5, 6, 7-year-old mind like could not concoct on its own, and subtle things, as in this thing leading me out towards the back door, seeing some subtle light coming in that shouldn't have been there because the backyard was literally pitch black. The front lawn had a street lamp, and so you always saw some light from the front of the house, but never the back. And so I saw some slight light coming through, and as we went to go towards the kitchen door and into the kitchen, there was a baby gate across because we had a little terrier. And when we got to that spot of just getting ready to, I guess, go over that fence or that gate, the dog began to growl. And not loud, but just growl. And then there was kind of like this look on the dog's face like it either heard something or that all of a sudden it just didn't want to look at it and it just wanted to go lay down. And then the light seemed to move from the kitchen windows into the front of the house. And so we abruptly made this, it was kind of like a Bugs Bunny move, where he confronts Elmer Fudd and it's just like one steady stream of walking. It never stopped and made a pause. It just literally did a U-turn and went out the front, towards the front door. And from that point, I don't remember anything more. I didn't see a ship. I didn't see a house or an alien, quote unquote. This is not how it worked for me. But I had other weird things there. I did have UFO sightings during that period of being really little, up into my, I guess 11, 12, 13s, something like that. And you come forward in life, and of course there was a lot more that I'm not going to bore everybody with. I've talked about this stuff ad nauseum on every show out there, probably. Who's been willing to entertain me? And it's all out there. It's
right.
Everybody pretty much knows where I come from on that. But at a certain point, you just kind of go, okay, what is and there's one event that pretty much solidifies for you what this is, and you always go through life like never forgetting those days and never forgetting those nights, and wondering what that was. And so I'll, at the risk of boring everybody, I'll tell the story. At my 9th birthday, I had friends of mine from school over and all that, and after they went home and I played around and helped Mom kind of tidy up and all of that, Mom and Dad put me to bed, and I had been moved to another room, a bigger room, and so now I had windows to my right and the door to my left rather than the opposite way from the other room. And Mom and Dad's bedroom was, I could literally see like the open door from my vantage point in the bedroom. So their door was literally like around the corner from mine. And so they put me to bed. Of course, I didn't go to sleep. And I kind of played like I was sleeping when they went into the bedroom for the night. And I saw the lights go off, and I was giddy listening to them talk about, I don't know, something some other parent had done at the party, or you know how parents are,
right.
This is what people do. And Mom was laughing and giggling, and I just remember being giddy that I was spying on them. They had no idea I was awake. And so all of a sudden there's this flash from outside the window, and it just got really quiet really fast. Mom and Dad weren't talking anymore. There's sounds that a house makes, like, an air conditioner running, because it's April, it's my birthday. So there's an air conditioning running or a fan running, or, Mom and Dad giggling and talking. One minute they're talking, the next minute it's bone silence, And, and in that silence, I called out to my parents, who did not answer me. I sat up because I was getting a little freaked out, and I hear that cushy sound of feet walking on thick carpet as we had back in the 70s, right? And
Mhm.
early 80s, I mean, this is what everybody had, and it was like that shushing sound. And I heard this, and I thought, what could this possibly be? And part of me, I don't know, you as a child, you rationalize these things like, well, maybe this is some surprise that mom and dad didn't tell me about, and they knew I was awake, and they're trying to surprise me, or I didn't know what I was thinking about. But this very short, strange-looking guy walks into the room, and I'm sorry, it really gets vivid for me at certain points, and I have no idea why it gets so vivid. But I can picture this like it's yesterday. He walks in the room. He walks in front of the light switch. It's somewhat dark, but there is the light from the bathroom, and part of the light from out in the dining room. There's a hanging light that is throwing a little bit of a warmer tone of light down the hallway, and so I can see slightly that this thing's skin is like I described to you on the phone before, like silly putty. It's about that color too. Really smooth, really almost fake looking. A slight bit of tooth to it, but smooth and very soft. Soft light doesn't play hard on the features. It's very soft. It seems very soft anyway. Rather large, dark eyes, and was wearing a hat that I'm just going to describe it as like a wok lid without the handle.
Mm.
So I described these to people before. Some people older than me, and they say, "Well, like a rice paddy hat, but more curved." And I was like, "Yeah, kind of like that. Kind of like what you see Asian people working in fields. Like I remember that from National Geographic, seeing those hats that they wore. But this was a spun copper-ish, goldy color, and clearly had brush lines in it like a wok lid.
Oh,
And
okay.
it's wearing this thing like a hat. And so he has nothing on. There's no clothes, and there was no need for that because there was no other appendages besides arms and legs, hands and feet. The feet were odd because they didn't have toes. They were smooth. The hands were those hands, those long, spindly fingers, big knuckles, and dark nails. And so I don't know, and again, I can't explain my own behavior at that because I don't know how my son would have been at 9 years old to have seen such a thing. What would he have done? Like I try to ask that, and I don't have a good answer other than I kind of like went to sit up on my knees and kind of face him because he came over beside the bed. And I went to say, "Who are you?" And I got out, "Who?" And he kind of put his finger over his lips like, "Shh," and he puts his hands up and he kind of rubs them together, the palms together. And he shows me the palms, and he shows me the back of the hands, like nothing in the front, nothing in the back, right? And then he brings them apart like he's going to clap them. And when he claps them together, it's the only way to describe it, and it's not 100% like dead on right, but it sounds like a gong the size of a neighborhood, right? Like a huge gong that sent vibratory horror straight through me, knocked me backwards, and I fell into someone. I fell into someone, like someone caught me falling backwards. And that was but that crash, that sound was the only thing that really made me afraid. Like there was no fear before that. It was kind of like, what is this little man? Like, what is going on here? This is absolutely like, is this a toy? What is this? And and until that crash happened, I was just astonished. I guess is the best way to put it. And then I remember nothing else after that. But I know that from that point on, there was no white square, there was no more black sheets or blue light or any of that scenario. That was over from that point. I never had it again.
Oh, how interesting.
So, yeah, so that's
yeah. Well,
feels weird even talking about it again. I mean, it's like,
oh my God.
But that's that's it. And it wasn't till years and years later that that people began talking about this alien abduction thing, and I thought, what a load of crap, like what a load of crap. I didn't believe a word of it. And then I started listening to some of the things these people were saying, and I'm like, that sounds oddly familiar, but not quite exact. And then you begin to see people's depictions of these things, and again, really shocking. That's clearly what was in my room, except it had a hat on, and doesn't look quite like that, but close enough for government work, right? So,
right. So, did you ever draw any of these photos? Or any of these,
tried.
these...
I mean, I tried to draw the one with the walk hat lid, and somewhere out on the net, it's got to be there. I put it up years ago, but I'd be hard pressed to even know where that is now.
That'd be interesting.
I mean, I could draw it again, but I can't get that close. It gets somewhat okay. I had a guy from Weta. The guys who did the Lord of the Rings and all, he was a sculptor for them, and he was going to sculpt that man that came in my room with the walk hat on. And he got to a certain point, and his cat kind of ate it. And so I got the sculpture.
Well, okay then.
but yeah, I mean, it's he did a really nice job on it from what I saw. So maybe I've got pictures of that somewhere on a memory stick. I'd have to find them. But
that would be really cool to see. And we've got some great questions in the chat room, and one
Sure.
of them, was, do you think that your parents were ever abductees, or did they ever tell you about anything?
I mean, I don't know whether the listener asked that in that phrase, but just to throw that out there in terms of just looking back on people of Earth, right? So I'm not a big fan of the term abductee or abduction and all that, because I don't think that's what it is. Which again, that's the first thing that people hear me say that they don't like. But has my mom ever had an experience of weird stuff? Yeah. I found that out probably, I don't know, it's been some years ago now, but back in that period in time, I never heard about any of that because I wasn't talking about any of that. It wasn't until I became really actively involved about 30 years ago that I asked her, I said, Mom, do you remember driving to West Virginia with me and Dad and this happening? And she goes, yeah. I said, what happened right after that? And she would say, I don't know. And then, later on, she would talk about, seeing her father, who had passed away years before, in their house, waking up to find something face to face with her. Sound familiar? She said, those eyes. She really couldn't even talk about it. But when someone says that they've seen something that has made a lasting memory impact on them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I take that, I take that kind of stuff seriously, especially when they say, I tried to wake up your father and he wouldn't wake up. And I remember being panicked and the phone rang and weird stuff like that, stuff that doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. But in this, and this is what I say to everybody who studies this stuff, and here's where you're going to get a lot of comments. I'm not seeing the comments room. I would become simply too distracted about it. But
they're all great, though.
Here's where I'm going to earn the ire of some of your listeners. If you guys really want to study this stuff, forget the sperm and ovum taking, and forget the abduction stuff, forget that whole scenario that you've heard time after time after time, because it's 10 times more bizarre than that. It's so bizarre that it buggers belief. I mean, I could tell you stuff that you would go, there's no way, but it happened. And half of them, I had people with me. So it happens. It's just, it's so far removed from what the UFO community or even the ghost community or even the parapsychological community is willing to acknowledge, because it's so bizarre that it becomes like self-negating.
Yes.
Like we're all trying to prove this point about, hey, this stuff is real. And this is, I mean, again, when I have given lectures, and they've been fairly sparse over the past 30 years, that was one of the big things that people would ask me, would say, well, are they real? And I would just kind of like go, well, that depends on what you mean by real. And they go, oh, come on. And I mean, well, they can be real when they want to be, but they don't have to be. Things like I've told you before, like I said in our hours-long discussions, it can start in your head and end up on the floor. If anybody reads anything that I've written, you'll see what I mean by that. Like there is this, there's been this turn lately to, well, not lately, I guess in ufology, the hip thing to always do is to first refute the psychological, like that's the big deal.
Mm-hmm.
It's not in my head. Well, my thing is, well, we don't even know what real means. So, and we don't know what we are yet. And we're trying to figure out what this is. And so forget it. Just forget it.
And you know what? I just have to say, because you're bringing up a really great point, that when I've talked to researchers that are in different hotspots, whatever around the world, and they choose to they pick and choose the data that they're willing to share. And then I think in some cases they kind of throw out other data because it is so bizarre that it would never be taken seriously in the scientific community, which is unfortunate because we have to look at all of this.
Well, and I think especially that stuff. I mean, and I should say that I have absolute 100% ironclad proof that happens. Not only in the abduction study, but in or the visitor syndrome, whatever you want to call it. Not only in that, but in UFO cases. I mean, I told you this story about the guy that I met that, had the UFO sighting and then had something in the backyard that put down something on the ground, and then he looks out a window and sees a giant rabbit. I mean, this is not uncommon, right? But who's going to believe that? You would far be easier to believe a little, silly putty guy with a wok hat on than you would a full-size, like, Easter bunny. Right?
Yeah.
But that's what the guy experienced. And I said, you're not leaving anything out? And he would really hemmed and hawed about it. And I was like, look, if you're not going to be honest with me, there's nothing I can do, because back in the 80s, the guys was, much like a lot of these paranormal investigators, quote unquote, say today is, I'm here to help. Well, you can't help. There's nothing you can really do. But that was the guys back then, was like, I can't help you if I don't get what you've really experienced. So you got to tell me the totality of it. And so how do you go as a researcher and say, the guy saw an Easter bunny outside his window, and then he doesn't remember what happened, or the Easter bunny stuck a needle in his arm, or whatever. I mean, that's just that's the kind of thing that'll get you put off the circuit. And for a lot of people, not me, thank God I have a career, but a lot of these people, this is their career, and so talking about that
talk
stuff
about that later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Coming up an hour or two.
Oh dear.
So there you are. But,
but I mean that's the thing, when you really get to know some of these people and they're willing to share some of the witness reports that people have had. I mean, they are absolutely off the hook. And we don't know. I mean, like the person that saw the Easter Bunny, I mean, was that something that was easier for them to process? Were they obviously they're capable of pulling things out of your mind, and
Yeah.
it's a freaking trip.
Well,
But
and I think what you got to do, Erica, is and for anybody that wants to just try something, I mean, just try this. Just entertain me and just try this. I guarantee you'll be pretty amazed. Like, start looking at the experiences not as a documentarian. Start looking at them and start trying to pick out things that feel more like metaphor or story or, you know what I mean? Symbolic meaning for that. And I think you'll be astounded at what you actually come across and connections that you can make and how this thing is kind of fabricating story for us, which is pretty amazing. Now, is it doing that for us? I have no idea. I just say that in that sense, that there is this sense of narrative to these things.
And then you look at, different cultures and you see how their myths, the oral traditions, you look at, all of that. And we're going to get into that a little bit more. But wow, this is so freaking deep and heavy.
Right.
Oh, I love it. And we're going to break, but I just want to, again, thank all of you for being here and listening from all over the world. You guys rock. I'm here with Jeff Ritzman, and I've got links on UFO Classified to all of his work, and it's very important. We're going to talk about that when we get back from the break. I'll talk to you on the other side.
Listen very carefully.
This is Houston. Say again, please. Houston, we've had a problem.
This is UFO Classified, live every Friday night, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. The truth is out there, just waiting to be discovered.
And now, if you will, accompany me on a journey to the future.
For more information on the host of UFO Classified, Erica Lukes, upcoming guests, as well as links to the past shows,
visit her website at UFOclassified.com.
UFO Classified.
UFO Classified.
This is KCOR Las Vegas, home of the Digital Radio Network, broadcasting from a shack just south of Area 51. Wait, that doesn't exist. This is the KCOR Digital Radio Network. Now for the news.
Now, broadcasting in digital HD radio.
The disc landed at a ranch at Corona, New Mexico. The rancher turned it over to the Air Force. Rancher W.W. Brazil was the man who discovered the saucer.
What I thought was a star began coming in my direction at a very rapid rate of speed.
The unidentified object, which some sources thought might be a blimp, moved slowly down the Pacific coast from Santa Monica and disappeared south of Long Beach.
I saw a UFO, and it went down the river, turned right at the United Nations, turned left, and then down the river.
UFO Classified.
UFO Classified.
No more plausible deniability. Fact, fiction, or the truth. You decide. And now, the new voice of the high desert, the hostess of UFO Classified, Erica Lukes.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Erica Lukes. This is UFO Classified on the best digital broadcasting network, KCOR. I want to thank all my friends for listening, for getting in the chat room, for just being cool and respectable and asking good questions. We appreciate that. My guest tonight is just a really cool guy, musician. He's an image analyst. He's been researching UFOs for over 30 years and has brilliant contributions to make to this field, to the paranormal field. He was the image analyst on the O'Hare case, which we're going to talk about a little bit, but he has some intriguing ideas, and I think these ideas can really move us in a different direction with regard to our research. I would like you to take a second and learn about Project Core, and you can go to oh my Lord, Jeff, help me out with your...
ParatopiaOculus.com.
Dear Lord have mercy.
PARATOPIAOCULUS.com.
You rock. Okay, thank you. But I mean, this is a very cool thing, and I want people to understand this. And again, I'll keep posting this, and I'll put it on my website so people can read this. But the work that you did. Let's talk about Project Core.
Sure. Well, where do I start with that? It's 2 years of my life I'll never get back. So I had this idea one day that we should do a survey. By we, I mean Jeremy Vaney and I, who we did Paratopia, the first incarnation of Paratopia years ago, which was pretty well received and widely. I'm not sure if talked about or hated. I'm going to leave it like as a slash. I'm not sure which one it was. But we kind of, on that show, we kind of didn't pander to people. We didn't tolerate nonsense guests. We ran out of guests pretty much because we, I don't know, we just had like more respect for our audience than to have on known charlatans and that sort of thing. So we didn't enter the fray for us. And so I thought, well, it's great to do this show, and it's great to talk about the stuff that literally no other show was talking about, and trying to like these mental exercises. So I thought, well, how can this work? Because we have a huge audience, which was a shocker, and what now that we've got these eyes and these people who are interested in this, how do we facilitate some kind of productive research in this? And so I thought we should put together a survey that is very basic, very open-ended, not one that is looking for some kind of predisposed answer. The questions in it were very broad and asked things like, what is your ancestral heritage? If you've ever taken an IQ test, what was your score? Have you had more than one what you would deem to be a paranormal experience in your life? Notice I said deemed to be. Doesn't mean it was. And so we asked these multiple choice questions, of which I think there are about 20 or 25. And then we asked these people, here's a form field. And in this form field, if you would be so kind as to describe in detail a paranormal event that affected you enough that you're taking this survey, can you describe it for us? We did not accept stories obtained through, here's where I get more hate mail. But you can send a hate mail to jeff.ritzman@gmail.com. We disavowed any entries that derive their information from the nonsense that is hypnotic regression.
Yes,
Anything
this is kind of a little hot button for you, isn't it?
Always has been. We wanted lucid, vivid recall. We didn't want anything other than that. Nothing, under the use of psychedelics, although that was a question. Have you ever tried psychedelic drugs, psychedelic compounds? Have you ever engaged in what some would call an occult practice, which could be anything from Ouija board to Wicca to, and I'm not insulting anybody, just what the public at large deems to be an occult practice, or in the occult book section, things like that. We got over 200 responses, which was really great. And the data that we got out of it was compelling to me. We didn't make any conclusions about it. You can read the results on paratopiaoculus.com. It's up at the top. You'll see links for Project Core. You can click that. It was done in league. Jeremy and I, we have been friends with Dr. Tyler Kochjohn For many years, he's a microbiologist at Midwestern University, and this is a guy working on a cure for Alzheimer's. So this is somebody acutely aware of mental aberration and dementia and these kinds of things. So he's a valuable guy to know. Plus, he's also a working scientist. I don't know, one that hasn't been involved in verifying Bigfoot or, like this is a guy who seriously is interested, but isn't going to debate fools, right? And so we also got Dr. Ellen Tarr, who is another professor and full-time working scientist, and Dr. Kimball Cooper, who was our statistician, and all of his, or a couple of his statistic students actually did the statistical work for correlating all the data that we got, and it was a lot. And so all of that data is available to be seen in very easy to read, easy to understand numbers and bar charts, which is great. And I thank Tyler for doing that. And what's the takeaway? The takeaway is we found some interesting threads to pull on, but there are some interesting things that now have to be verified through something a little bit more invasive than an anonymous survey. We know the names of these people. We know who they are, but we will never release any of their stories. Excuse me, we will never publish any of their stories, and we will never publicly discuss their stories. The entire team has read all of them. A lot of them, one thing I can say, inexplicably weird. And they run the gambit. It's not just about aliens and flying saucers. It's also ghosts. It's extrasensory perceptive stuff. It's all matter of psi effects. It was fascinating to read them all. And I'll never be able to thank those participants enough for sharing that with us and for filling out so diligently all the questions that we asked, no matter how personal they were or how much maybe that they maybe didn't want to answer certain ones. Everybody answered. And so we got some interesting threads to pull on. But as of now is the time where, at some point in this year, it's time to get funded to buy blood test kits, to buy DNA sample kits to send to people. It's going to be a little bit more invasive because we're going to have to know addresses and, this kind of thing to be able to send these kits out, have them returned, have them tested, and then verify the survey results through that. So this is not like airy-fairy crap. This is how they do science, and it's boring. And I kid you not, we worked 2 years at least on this, and every time I would turn around, people would say, "Hey, how's Project Core going?" Because everybody knew about it. Like we advertised it pretty thick around the internet, or as near as we could. And every time you turn around, hey, when's it going to be done? What are you guys doing? People didn't realize just how much that, and it's not just correlating data as far as responses. It's then taking those responses and cross-comparing them. How many people who were Celtic Irish also had high IQs and were creatively, employed, like in the creative field? This is one of the things that did come up that's really interesting. A lot of people who experience paranormal events are artists, writers, creative types.
Right.
That's an interesting bit. And if you go into the notion that I do in the commentary, which you can download at projectoculus.com, I bring up Dr. Jeff Kripal, who has written massively good books. One called Authors of the Impossible, another one called Mutants and Mystics. I urge anybody listening to buy those two. In addition to George Hansen's The Trickster and the Paranormal. That book in itself is the reason you guys are even listening to this show right now, is for me to tell you to buy this book.
Yeah, no, he is amazing.
It will change your outlook on this field. It will change how you view it. You will, you will view it all as it's exactly the way it's supposed to be.
And I have to say that Tim Beckley has did an interview with him, a video interview with him and
Right.
Ted Phillips, and that was a really, really great interview. And you can find that on YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you can hear George Hansen speak, go. George changed my life. I mean, literally. And we invited George to be a part of Project Core, to be on the team that was doing this work. And he didn't want to do it because he didn't think that we would be able to actually engage and find anything interesting. And so when I gave him the results and the synopsis and all of our paperwork, he was overjoyed. He's like, Jeff, you did it. I mean, like, you really did it. I mean, I just have a feeling he didn't think we were going to be able to pull it off, and we did. So it's one of those things where nobody made any conclusions. Nobody jumped to any wild theorems or anything. It's all very, like, here it is. This is what we got, and this is the cross comparisons of these things. Isn't this interesting? And that doesn't seem to be enough for the paranormal fields, because I've released this project years ago now. It's been at least 2 years, I think, or more. And the old website that we had, I had a page counter on that page that told me how many people came and downloaded the material. 20.
Okay, then.
So 2.5 years of work, roughly, for 20 people.
That's pretty pathetic. I mean, that's wrong, because this is such good work.
And I'm not bitter. Like, I'm not, and really, I joke about that, but I'm seriously not. Like, I'm not, it doesn't, now I understand why it doesn't surprise me that that's the case. Because it is true that people are far more into, stories that feed their own projected beliefs on this. Like, everybody's got their pet theory. And I understand that people only want to listen to things that feed that pet theory. That's the echo chamber that people live in. We all do.
And I think people are lazy. I mean, not my listeners for sure, but I think that people want like little bits and pieces of information, and sometimes it can be overwhelming to look at all of this data.
Yeah.
And so they tune out.
And it is hard. I mean, when there are questions, I mean, that was a question. The one about psychedelics was always one that I asked probably since the 90s. I would ask things like, what is your relationship to altered states? And they would answer me. They would say, well, I've never had an experience like this when I was dropping acid, or I never had stuff like this when I was under the effects of mushrooms, or so on and so forth. But they were aware of those states. So it's important to make that person aware that it's important to make a researcher aware, or it's important for them to know that this person is familiar with altered states of consciousness. Because I will say this, and I've learned next to nothing about this phenomenon in 30 years. I know a little, but nothing like what I thought I should know by now. But one thing I can tell you is that just about every paranormal experience, there is some sort of altered state going on. From a ghost sighting to, a UFO event to an alien experience. These things happen in some kind of altered state. And if people want to argue with that, I only need to point out that, you could have, a case like, anybody who's studied UFOs and has done investigations has had 4 or 5 people in a group see an object, and has had 2 people say, well, yeah, it was a red light and it had like these appendages on it, and the other 3 to say it was green and it had this long tube coming out the bottom. I mean, people see different things,
right?
And this has been documented many, many times. Everybody just ignores it, but Jacques Vallée's been talking about this since the 70s, people. That's an altered state. People are in altered perceptive states. And so if you ask someone that doesn't mean, were you on drugs? Is that why you saw aliens? Because you were smoking dope? No. I'm asking that because you need to know if they're familiar with the altered state, and is there anything familiar about that experience to what you experienced here? And you do find that there are some weird hallmarks that are oddly similar, but don't really fit like a puzzle piece, if you get what I mean. They don't fit perfectly, but there are some interesting tangents to that. So, it comes down to challenging this stuff rather than being a believer, I guess is the best way to say it.
But so we've got a lot of, I mean, I think everybody here that kind of listens to this and wants to learn more about UFO phenomenon and all of the paranormal stuff. I mean, we've all had personal experiences. And so how would you advise people to deal with this?
It depends on what you want. It depends on what you want. It's man, that's a great question. To sum it up in 5 minutes before I know you got to take a break. I guess the best way to put it is, if you're looking for the ability to study this, there is no better way to study this than direct experience. But that said, you have to be acutely aware of what you're asking for when you do that. And there are ways to engage this, directly, that I feel confident that I could say and you would get results. It takes effort and it takes devotion to it to make it happen, but I believe it can happen. And it's not one of those things where, I've said before, it's not like you're laying in bed listening for the bump in the night and, oh, the house settles and you jump out of your skin. No, this is really undeniable stuff, like in your face. This is no bull crap. I don't have to guess about what that is. Okay?
Right.
Doesn't mean you're going to get proof. So forget that. Waylay that in your minds immediately. You're not looking for proof. You're looking to study this. What you're looking for is what you're after. So if you're looking to study it, great, but be aware of what you're asking for, because some doors are not easily closed. If you're looking to foster some belief system, just quit. Just quit. Just quit
Great
now.
advice. Great advice.
And just quit now and subscribe to your belief system and just leave it alone. But of course, that's not going to happen. That's not what happens. And from there it gets really crazy, complex, and this is why I'm writing a book, but I'm not writing the book. Like, I got a really talented author named Aaron Parker writing the book for me.
That's good.
Because I'm far too anti-structural to write a book. I don't have time to write a book. I just kind of tell her what my experiences have been, both in the field, in my private life, and in the study of this stuff, and then she writes it eloquently, and so that people will want to read it. If I wrote it, you'd be like, I can't follow this.
Yeah, no, if I wrote it, it'd be a picture book of 4 pages.
I mean, yeah,
so right
absolutely.
there with you.
So, I mean, in other words, what to do is, I guess the biggest advice I can say that has helped me the most, because I'm certainly no mentor here about this, but start asking different questions. The paranormal field, quote unquote, has failed you, has failed us all, because we're not asking the right questions. And if we are, it's damn few of us that are. Because questions get you data that's different and new. Remember what Stanton Friedman says? Like, this is a guy everybody respects, right? So what he says is progress doesn't come from doing the same thing over and over. It comes from doing things unexpectedly and in unpredictable ways. Funny how I can recite that, right? I'd have no idea why I can recite that so easily.
I like it.
And that's what you have to do. And so you immediately have to recognize that you don't have the flying saucer or the ghost or the anything to put under a microscope and study. You can't study that. It's too slippery. What you have to study is, God, please listen to me, people. Please. This will change your life if you're into this stuff. Look at what surrounds paranormal events. What surrounds it is so much more important than the thing itself. Forget the color of the disc. Forget how many windows it had. Forget what the ghost was trying to say. What was going on in the experiencer, the person who saw it? What's their life like? Are they out of work? Are they in the midst of divorce, moving, settling on a new house, changing jobs? Is their life in upheaval? What else? Are they engaged in what society would deem a taboo of any kind? And that can be some really weird, kinky stuff, but you need to ask these questions. They're uncomfortable.
Right. And on that note, on that uncomfortable note, we're going to take a quick break. And, of course, we're going to be right back. This is KCOR. I'm Erica Lukes. This is UFO Classified. And we'll talk to Jeff Ritzman when we get back from our last break.
Stand by.
This is UFO Classified with Erica Lukes.
Erica Lukes.
The phone lines are open now at 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230. Worldwide callers use Skype name KCOR Radio. More UFO Classified.
UFO Classified.
With Erica Lukes on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. After this.
Woven throughout the universe are keys to a hidden message, awaiting a voice that can decipher their coded meaning, a cosmic connection to the cosmos. Tune in to the KCOR Digital Radio Network at 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern for Cosmic Connection. Cosmic Connection. Cosmic Connection. Cosmic Connection with astrologers Caroline Lynch and Merlin Wizard. Your weekly astrology reading is but a phone call away. So call Cosmic Connection Sunday, 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, and get your free reading today. Cosmic Connection with Caroline Lynch and Merlin Wizard. Exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. This is the world-famous KCOR.
That's the only station I listen to.
A boy born in Joplin, Missouri was fascinated by anything with wheels and a motor. The odds of him going on to fascinate millions with his talent? 1 in 260,000. The odds of this born racer having 157 career top 10 finishes in NASCAR? 1 in 125 billion. But every driver seeks the pinnacle of their achievements. The odds of him winning both the Daytona 500 and the Brickyard 400 in the same year? 1 in 195 million. The odds of a child being diagnosed with autism? 1 in 68. I'm NASCAR driver Jamie McMurray, and my niece has autism. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs. Early diagnosis can make a lifetime of difference.
Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
Friday night, 9 p.m. Pacific. Jump onto the Celestial Highway and travel at the speed of light. Into hyperspace. Hyperspace. Hosted by Solaris Blue Raven. She navigates you through the cosmic tides of mysticism into the world of covert technology, UFOs, mystical sciences, and the world of unforeseen forces.
You get to really sort of enjoy a bizarre ride.
Listen live, Friday night, 9 p.m. Pacific.
For Hyperspace.
The one show that blows the whistle off our government black ops projects. Hyperspace. Hosted by Solaris Blue Raven.
Solaris Blue Raven.
Exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network.
Want to take a ride? Take a ride.
listening to UFO Classified with Erica Lukes, where the truth isn't hidden beneath the black lines of a Sharpie.
That's the craziest thing I've ever heard.
To be on with Erica, call 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230. Worldwide callers use Skype name KCOR Radio.
Radio contact.
Share your thoughts on the show on Twitter by using hashtag KCOR. Or head over to the live chats at KCORradio.com.
The audience goes nuts.
And now, your host of UFO Classified.
Are you ready?
Erica Lukes.
Erica Lukes. Happy Friday, my friends. I'm Erica Lukes. Happy to be here. And next week, I just want to give you guys a little heads up. I am doing a pre-recorded interview with somebody that I have known for a while now, and I met him in London. He's a remote viewer. His name is Tunde Antarase. It is a great interview. He worked with Joe McMoneagle, and you are not going to want to miss it, but I will be here in chat, but just giving you a heads up. So share that. He has written a book that is incredible. That link will be on my UFOclassified.com page, so check it out. And I am here tonight with somebody who I just think is really, really cool, very intelligent, has a lot of important information and ideas that are going to, I really believe, kind of push this in a new direction. Not only ufology, I think I'm going to melt when I say that word, but, the paranormal. I mean, all of this, it's related. And Jeff, I just have to ask you, what do you think the relation is between the two?
I'm sorry.
The paranormal and ufology.
Wow. We only got a half hour, right?
I know it, dang it.
God, I said this during the break. It's like so hard to make this make any sense to anybody. I guess, and again, anything that I'm saying tonight is not really like, this wasn't my grand discovery per se. I mean, like I said, go to www.tricksterbook.com, spelled like it sounds, tricksterbook.com, and read George Hansen's little synopsis and a little brief of what you can get into. His work is not light reading, and so I think that will weed out the people who are just kind of looky-loos and what have you, past people who are, like, you either care about this or you don't. And that's always been kind of my thing. So if you read that book, you'll understand better, because George is infinitely better at explaining this than I. And unfortunately, people probably say, George who? And like I said, if you look, and this is answering your question in the long-about way here, Erica, when you look at ghost sightings and you look at other paranormal, in quotes, I'm doing the air quote thing with my fingers like anyone can see that.
I can, in my mind.
And so when you look at those, and like I said, look for what surrounds them. Look for what is going on. This is something that I think people may not know. And I had no idea about this either until I met George. Did you know that there's a lot of UFO sightings around, like construction sites? This is true.
I remember you telling me that.
This is a thing, okay? Construction sites, new home building, that sort of thing. When you look at let's say the UFO thing, like a UFO sighting. And when you speak to that witness and you ask him things like, what's your life situation like? You may get pushback on that, but you need to say, look, you need to be honest with me because this is important. And you need to be brutally honest with me and brutally frank with me, because they will try to hide certain things from you because they believe that if you know these things, you won't believe them. And this thing does leave one with a desire to relate the story. Because why else did you have the experience other than to relate the story, right? So tell them, I'm not judging you. I'm not, like, again, Are you between jobs? Are you unemployed? Are you under stress of any kind? What's going on that's changing in your life? These things come up in the spaces in between. The betwixt and the between is where paranormal events happen. The liminal state, they call it. This is where these things happen. Okay? Here's two examples that are really easy to get through. The poltergeist usually manifests for not only just girls, but boys too, and it happens at the time at puberty, right there in the middle. They're not a woman, but they're not a little girl anymore. They're in that in-between state. They're not a man, but they're no longer mommy's little fuzzy bunny, right?
Right.
So they're in that between stage. Boom, this thing hits, it disrupts, it's angry, this is the definition of poltergeist, right?
And then you have the Foo Fighters in World War II. Yeah.
Exactly. You hear about these, and I defy anyone to watch any paranormal program like, I don't know, what is it? Ghostly Encounters is the great one out of Nova Scotia, Canada. There's a couple other ones that are on big networks where they actually talk to the people who experienced the phenomena, right? And you'll always hear the same story. We moved into this house and everything was great until we started tearing up the flooring and reforming that, and then these weird things started happening. And everybody looks at that and they immediately try to do this really interesting thing, which is to pretend that they know the mind of a ghost. And when you realize how unproductive that is, you'll chuckle to yourself to ever have said to yourself, well, they disturbed the spirits that lived in the house by changing the house. No, you don't know anything like that. That is wish fulfillment is what that is. Okay? What you've done is you've placed yourself, if you are renovating your house, and your home, your sanctuary from a chaotic world, in a state of between. It's not done, but it's also not like it was. It's not your new kitchen. It's now a pile of lumber, but it will soon be your new kitchen. It's in this between state, which throws you into a between state. You're not sleeping like normal because you're coming home and working on your kitchen till all hours of the night to get done because you got work the next day. See how this unfolds?
Yes.
So it throws you into chaos. And boom, weird stuff begins to happen around the house. This is over and over and over again. And if you just look, it's there every single time. So this is what I say is you see this in UFO cases, you see it in ghost phenomena. This is one of the connective tissues to me between the UFO thing and every other paranormal phenomena that there is. The UFO is just a little bit more slippery because we also have UFO, here's that air quote thing, researchers out there saying that we don't have, and here's my quotes again, we don't have technology like that. We didn't have that back in 1947. My answer always to everybody from Rich Dolan to God knows who else was, how the hell do you know? You were not privy, nor are you privy to every special project ever conceived by the United States military or the government. You have no idea what you're saying when you say that. We have no idea what we have now. So it's harder to tell what is the phenomena versus what is a project. And I think those two get frequently garbled together. So it's hard to tell because, interestingly enough, this phenomena seems to mirror just ahead of our own technology. Okay,
Isn't that
so
interesting?
So there you go. So,
well, and you did bring up another researcher in the field, and I want to touch on this, just for a moment. But the dysfunction in the field of ufology or the paranormal world. I mean, what are your thoughts on why this occurs and what we could do to try to make it better, maybe?
I ain't no angel when it comes to that, and you know that.
Well, you're a little spicy, that's for sure.
I'm a little hard to digest. It's unavoidable. It's going to happen. You've recently experienced it. We're not going to talk about it because it's been talked about to death. But, all that was laid out like a mousetrap waiting to happen. and you could see it a mile away.
Mhm.
And when you can recognize the characters in this, I think that something that people need to come to in this is that there are a lot of different factors in play. Ego is in play, and everybody's got one. Me, you, everybody. But there's ego at the price of, trying to be respected, and then there's the other half of the ego, which is just trying to protect what you got. And there is no protecting what you got in this. There is none. You can't hold on to anything in this. If you're looking for consistency, look somewhere else. It's not here.
Exactly.
You will find tandem consistencies just outside the circle. But in that circle, there's monsters, man. I mean, there's no other way to say it. It's chaotic, it's crazy, and this is where a lot of people live, in that circle. Out from that circle is those of us who spectate with this, which is where I stand now. I'm not in that circle anymore. At least I try to stay out of it. Every once in a while, I'll stick my head in and get slapped. But you have to, again, recognize that for certain people, this is their reality because they've experienced it. And then you try to say, well, no, see, that doesn't hold water. A skeptic says that doesn't hold water. And then that experiencer gets even more passionate because it happened to them, right?
Mm-hmm.
What they experience is what they experienced. And that is immediate friction, of course. But then there's this other part on the skeptical side. There's a reason skeptics are the way they are, and I think there is a deep-seated need to be right. It doesn't matter what the argument is. They have a deep-seated need to be right. And I think
Clearly,
this is also
yes.
a psychological thing,
Right.
which is the paper I'm working on now.
And
which
I
is all about
cannot wait to read that. My God, please hurry.
It's fascinating so far, but again, I've been put on hold for a couple of people that I want to talk to. But it gives you you recognize the value of hoaxes, and you recognize the value of these exercises of debunking things that need to be debunked. But you also look at evidence differently. You're very suspicious of it. And I know back when I first started, I was like, wow, this one's got to be real. No. Well, this one's got to be real. No. It's tough not to want to feed yourself, but as I said, you either care about it or you don't. And if you care, then you care enough to be critical of it. Because let me tell you guys something. The real thing, you can beat on it with a sledgehammer. The crap will just break apart and will fall apart at your feet. And you'll walk away without having spent a lot of time and effort and sweat on it.
So how do we figure out what the crap is and what the good stuff is? Because it sounds like it's just, it's so elusive.
Effectually, I don't know that you can 100%, because and a really good example is this, and I'm not going to name names because why stir a hornet's nest, right? But there's a guy out there that had this really significant experience that was witnessed by some people, at least part of it, and then he had an experience with a UFO and some creatures, quote unquote, and some really intense experiences. And that experience that he related, I think, is what he experienced. I have no reason to disbelieve that. Again, the hallmarks of stress and chaos and change were present in that situation, and it manifested. This thing manifested within that. So that's within the loose guidance system here that I'm talking about. But what's interesting, and this happens with a lot of people, is that attention that's given to them, the praise that's heaped on them. Like I said, like you got to stop with that because it's just
Exactly. Well, I mean, and it's not
because
even
they
people that
become,
experience stuff. I mean,
well,
this is people that come into this field and have followings and chat rooms or,
yes,
I mean,
yes, oh
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. It's not relegated to just experiencers by any stretch. Researchers, everybody. I've seen some amazing things come out of researchers' mouths that you wouldn't believe that they would say. Um, so it builds a sense in people, and then here comes the bad part for experiencer people. Like I was talking about this man. Um, I believe that he now believes he must perpetuate this to stay in this field. He doesn't have to do that. And so now he routinely presents pictures of what I know, are dust particulates and illuminated bugs and this, that, and the other that he says are portals and alien beings and so on and so forth, claiming to see these things with the naked eye, as big as a basketball, as big as a bowling ball. I can immediately recognize these things as dust particulates, pollen, moisture particulates. I've done this stuff for a long time. I know exactly what they look like. I know how weird they can look too. But people feed him and they say, "This is so wonderful. You're so amazing." No, this is what is detrimental to his case. He just doesn't realize it. And I think on some level, and you'll read about this in George's book, but I came to this realization, interestingly enough, on my own, that a lot of people do fall into this Dungeons and Dragons type of behavior in this. In other words, they know inside they're not being truthful or that something is not what they're presenting it as, but they play it out forward so much that they make themselves believe. It's like the Costanza line. It's not a lie if you believe it, right?
Right.
So that's where they fall into. So this makes it really hard not to dismiss him as a whole package, because everything after that I've seen, has been like, really, dude, seriously, And I've tried to explain this to him, and he says, "Look, I don't care what you believe, just go away." And that's the typical answer that you get. So
let me just ask you really quick about the orb photos and different things. I mean, are there cases of genuine orb photos?
Yeah, more than a few.
So where can we find those?
I want to see. Okay, if you go to paratopiaoculus.com, again, at those links up in the upper right, there's another link to Project Oculus. And this is what I started, I don't know, it's been months ago now. We've had, obviously, a lot of stuff happen here in the house. I've lived here 8 years now. Single-family home, beautiful neighborhood. And we didn't have anything weird for about 6 months, and then weird stuff began happening. And one of the things that started happening was a small ball of light in the living room just below the ceiling will show up routinely for just about anybody who comes here. Seriously, anybody who spent any time here has seen it. Jeremy has seen it. My wife has seen it. My parents, aunts and uncles. I mean, but I have gotten through the use of Project Oculus means essentially cameras set up that have been integrated into the house and have become, let's say, invisible or unnoticed. But I'm running into snags with that because it's also become something that the paranormal doesn't like, which is routine. It's been routine to turn them on. It's been routine to set them up. So I'm trying to shake that up to facilitate more to happen. But we did capture that light on the ceiling with the cameras. And I also got 2 shots from the hallway where I saw peripherally, I saw flashes of color in the hallway. And I would stare at the hallway and see nothing, and the minute I turned my head, I'd see these flashes of light. That, I don't know how to explain it other than there was no reflected light on the wall. It was just these flashes of color. And so I was literally, I think, on the phone with my producer from Paranormal Waypoint that I used to host on another network. And I stuck my phone around the corner and I just started click, 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 as fast as I could. And I managed to get 2 halfway decent pictures of light phenomena in the house, which I sent to Ted Phillips. And he said, basically, this is exactly what we see in Marley Woods, but you're seeing it in a house.
So is there a place that we can see those, Ben?
Yes, if you go to that link on Paratopia Oculus and click the link for Project Oculus, that will take you to a page, which is like a donate page. And if people want to donate, you can get access to the cameras where I let you see everything that goes on. And I'll forewarn you, there hasn't been much. The light on the ceiling we got, that was one time. And we've captured some odd lights that have not been on camera but have shown light into the house. I don't know what to make of those. And we also run meters during the night, off and on as well. Nothing so grandiose as a ghost box or,
Oh, come on. Those are kind of fun to play around with.
No, we got a natural EM meter that we run. And there's, when you can access the page with the videos, there's weather, so you can see what the weather's like here, because guess what? This thing will detect a lightning strike from 7 miles away. So
that is so cool. Okay, so where are you specifically? Because we did have a question.
I'm in the state of Maryland.
Earlier. Okay.
I'm in Maryland on the East Coast. So, if you watch the introductory video to Project Oculus, which I'm pretty sure is still up, let me check while we're talking. But, if you look, you will see the 2 pictures that I present and kind of like the synopsis of what I wanted to do with this project and am doing, because I did get fully funded to buy the cameras. Right now, I'm just trying to get funded to monitor them and save the audio and the video on the cloud, because they charge you a month for that. So,
But this is good though, because I think that you're putting cameras up. You're doing good research. You're trying to educate people, and that's the thing that when I was with an organization, we were doing a lot of collecting of money and collecting of data, but we weren't really educating the public, and that's what we have to do. So what is the difference between something really anomalous? What is this, what is a fly on the windshield? We have to be able to reach out and train people, because not train, but teach people, because I think that there are a lot of people out there that want the truth, that are willing to invest the time, the money to try to find that, and they just need good information.
I mean, again, it's and I should mention while we're on this subject here that if you go to paratopiaoculus.com and you look at the page, it's the top post is Project Oculus is underway, and there's a link in there to go right to the page for GoFundMe, and there's the video right there, so you can watch the video about that. But by no means do I mean that my pictures of orbs are the only ones that are legit. There are plenty of ones that you just have to look, and I can tell you that they don't look like dust orbs.
So can you give me some links that I can share with people?
I can. I'll hunt
awesome.
some down later tonight, and I'll send them to you.
Great, that's awesome.
But what can people do? I think it's to me the field is too far gone, Erica, to advise anybody, because if there are people out there that don't really have a preconceived notion about what we're looking for, but are just willing to look, again, look for those liminal anti-structural elements in accounts. Those are really valuable, and you'll find out how valuable they are. But start relying on equipment that is not geared up to, the nth degree of sensitivity. Stop using K2 meters and stuff like this that give results for hearing a radio. Mm-hmm. Start using like a natural EM meter and be satisfied with what you get. Try using random number generators in your investigations. Start trying to do ghost hunting with like double blind, right? So like take your team out, send 2 of your investigators in, give them no foreknowledge whatsoever. If you work with a sensitive person or a psychic, take you send them in with one of your, and let them go through each room in the house and see where the activity is. But all the while, the head of this thing has already done the questioning of the residents, and they know where the hot areas are, but they don't disclose that to their team.
Oh, and we definitely, you're gonna have to come back, because this is the end of our show. Jeff, thank you so much. What a great night. I knew it would be. I want to just, and I will give everybody links and get the pictures of the orbs out there for people to see. Thank you for listening tonight. I appreciate you. Next week I will be here with Tunde Anfrase talking about remote viewing, Joe McMonagle, and UFOs. So you all have a safe night, and stick around for a wonderful night of ladies in KCOR. We'll see you next week.
Listen very carefully.
This is Houston. Say again, please. Houston, we've had a problem.
This is UFO Classified, live every Friday night, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. The truth is out there, just waiting to be discovered.
And now, if you will, accompany me on a journey to the future.
For more information on the host of UFO Classified, Erica Lukes, upcoming guests, as well as links to the past shows,
visit her website at UFOclassified.com.
UFO Classified.
UFO Classified. UFO
Classified. This is KCOR Las Vegas, home of the Digital Radio Network.